computer guys, if-else lab for Python. This is going to be an addendum doing the lab in C#. So I'll put a link to the actual tutorial or presentation that he did, the class that he did. And this isn't to redo the class. This is just to supplement the lab that was done in Python. Do it in C#. So let's get started. We'll give it a name of if-else. And change directories to if-else and type code period to launch Visual Studio Code. Go into Program CS. It's got the new console template. We don't like that. We want to change it using the bubble or control period to turn it into a regular program with the main. We're going to set a breakpoint here. F9, or you can hit the little dot. F5, or you could click the little run button, select C#, select the launch. It's setting up debugging. It's what we're doing to make sure the environment works. Before we're even coding anything, we're going to make sure the environment works. We hit a breakpoint. We got hello world. Everything's going great. So let's delete that. The first thing we're going to do is the corn name, where you're going to get some input from the console, the first pet and the street, throw it into two variables, and then write back out to the console what your corn name is, a combination of the pet name and the street name using string interpolation. String interpolation. There you go. All right. So in order to do that, we're going to create a method called corn name execute. All right. And then you can control period to bring up the quick fix to generate the name. We're going to remove our breakpoint over there. And we're going to follow along what the Python has over here. So the first thing we do is we create a while loop. So this will always be running. While true means I want this to run until the app stops or it hits a break. And there is no break, so this is just going to continue to loop while the app is running. In Python, inside the input, you could say text. The text you want to display when getting the input, we don't have that. It's two separate lines in C#. So you're going to say Console.WriteLine. And in there you could say name of your first pet. And then we're going to call Console.ReadLine to put it into a variable. So var pet underscore name equals input. Oh, sorry, I'm reading directly. It's Console.ReadLine. And everything has to end with a semicolon. And now Console.WriteLine. Name of your street. And var street underscore name equals Console.ReadLine. So we got our two variables, and we need to write line out the result. So Console.WriteLine $sign instead of F to say, hey, this we're going to put variables in this string. Your corn name is, and is pet underscore name, and space, brackets, street, or curly braces, I should say, name, and that's it. So if you don't have the $sign, you'll see that it looks as one string, but when you put in the $sign, you'll see the name change, and that's because it's now pulling the variable pet name and not the string literal pet name. F5 to run. All right, it says name of your first pet, and we also got debugging information. You click down here, and you would say the first name of the pet. My first pet name. And it'll say name of the street. My first street. All right, and I'll say your corn name is my first pet name, my first street. And you could say, you know, and it loops back around. You can say pet and street, and now it says pet and street. And it'll just keep going. You can see that if you were to hit the pause button, it's going to pause on the read lines, and it's just going to stick in here. So you can stop with Shift F5, or you hit the stop button, and we're done with corn name. Section code block, we're going to do a while loop again. We're going to read in some more text, and then we're going to call some extensions on the string class to uppercase, lowercase, title case, and strip out spaces, padding from strings. So let's do that. We'll comment out corn name with 2 slashes, and we'll create the new method of clean text execute. And control period, generate the method, and we can come down here and we'll do while true to start our loop, and Console.WriteLine text to clean, right? And then we read the text in. Var text equals Console.ReadLine. Now we got the text. Let's write out some modifications to it. Console.WriteLine and text. Now there isn't one-to-one with the Python and the C#, but it's close enough. So you can see all these methods here on the text object. So you could say text dot, it's not upper, but it's to upper. It'll do the same thing, Console.WriteLine.text to lower. Now, in order to get into title case, there is no text to title, right? If I was to copy this and I'd say to title, it's not there. Methods not there. It's not an option. What there is, and I have it over here off screen, a helper class called culture info, or more specifically the text info off of it, that can get us that title case. So what you say is var text info, and that's going to be our helper class. New culture info object. And we're going to throw in the constructors it needs to know that we're English, US, user override. So you can see the culture requires the name of the culture, user override. We're going to say false there. Then we're going to grab the text info property on that class to help us put this to title case. So we can say Console.WriteLine text info to title case. So that's, nope, not to string. To title case with the text. And that should get us our title case. The next step here is we're going to clean, which means remove the padding, any padding that's in the string. So you can say var text underscore clean equals text dot trim. So the Python, it's text strip. C#, it's text trim. You noticed also there was in here, you could see you can say trim the whole string, both the front and the back, or just the end, just the start. We're going to do the front and the back of the string. And finally, we're going to Console.WriteLine with the $, both the text, and copy paste that, and the text underscore clean, right? So now we have our method, we got our entry point, and let's hit run. Well, actually, this is a good use for the breakpoints. So we're going to put a breakpoint here. So you can put it on line 20, hit F9, or you put the little red dot next to line 20. Okay, so put in some text to clean. So we're just going to put in space, 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 text to clean, like that. Space, space, space. Boom. All right, so we got the text. And you can see there's the text. You can hover your mouse over to see. Now what we're going to see is to upper. So let's see what it does with to upper. Oh, everything's uppercase. F10 to step. And now it's all lowercase. Create the text info. Now title case. Text to clean. All right. And here is the raw text string with the padding. And here it is without the padding. And that's it. And it'll ask you again because we looped. And you could put in more text and you can continue. We won't play around with that anymore. We're done. We're going to stop. And we're going to move on to the next one. And we're going to add a number, guessing, game, execute. Method call, and then we're going to generate the method, control period, generate the method. And first step is going to be to generate a random number, and then we're going to loop while users can input guesses. We're going to compare, is the guess higher or lower than the random number, and print high and low with the console until they get the right answer, and then it breaks. So this will actually terminate without stopping, which is always good. So var number equals new random will generate. So instead of randint, you're going to use the random class, and you're going to say next int 64, and it's the same thing where you have a low bounds and a high bounds. So you say 1, 0 to 10 is what he has there. All right. So while true, we're going to say Console.WriteLine. What is your guess? Our guess. We're going to read that in, but we're going to have to cast it. So when you read stuff in from the console, it's going to be a string. We need to change it into a number to compare. So that's what the int is doing there. You're reading it in as a string, and then you're casting it to an integer. We're going to do the same thing in one step. We're going to say convert to int console read line, and that'll put the guess as an integer. So when you hover over it, it's going to say, well, it's going to be a long because that's the int 64. But we can compare this is a long because it's in 64. So we're going to have two longs, not ints. Long is a long integer. I'm not going to go into the details of that because this really isn't about C#. It's just an addendum to the Python stuff. So what we got next is comparing. If guess is greater than number, we're going to console. We're going to write out that your guess is too high. Right? So if it's not too high, is it too low? Is guess lower than number? And we can just copy and paste this line. Say it is too low. Else, if it's not too high or too low, it's got to be just right. So we can say that is correct. That is correct. Is right. And then we can also break because we're done making guesses. So the app can finish. So that's it for this section of code. Let's go ahead and run this. What is our guess? We're going to say 5. 5 is too low. How about 7? 7 is too high. Can you guess what the number is? 6 is right. We got it. So that completes the labs. Hope you enjoyed, learned something. Hope you were following along, because it's tippy tap or die. And questions and comments, put them below. Let me know if it was useful, if you could follow along, if I'm moving too fast, too slow. Really appreciate it. Otherwise, I'm going to keep making these videos and post them if you keep watching them. Take care.